Oh, hi. Okay, so you did the sex and now you and your partner are a little bit worried that you could be pregnant. Maybe you used condoms, maybe you didn't. Maybe your period is already late, maybe it's not. First things first,
please remain calm.
the first time I ever had sex, the condom broke. Literally the first time. Okay, rude. Fortunately, it happened right at the beginning and we noticed it right away. So not a big deal, but at the time I was freaking out. Pretty sure by the next morning I had convinced myself that I was pregnant with twins and I was gonna have to drop out of high school. Looking back now, I laugh at it, but at the time, it was not funny. Since this is something that I get email about on a pretty regular basis, I decided I should just make a video putting all the things together that you guys need to know if you're having a pregnancy scare. But first, a huge thank you to the sponsor of this video, Nurx. Nurx is an app that delivers birth control for free right to your doorstep because in the future, we never have to leave the house. The process is really simple. You download the app, do a free consultation with the doctor, and then they'll help you figure out what one's right for you, and it gets delivered to you. Now, if you have insurance, congrats, the birth control is usually free. If you don't have insurance, it starts around $15 a month. Plus, Nurx is offering all my viewers $20 off with promo code LACI. That's L-A-C-I. Pretty legit. I love that this exists, and I hope that it can be helpful to some of you. Nurx is obviously not a replacement for regular doctor visits, my dears, but it can come in handy in a lot of different situations. If you are having trouble getting to the doctor, if you can't afford your copay, or for anybody who needs protection now. Check it out, babes. I will put a discount link down below. The most ASAP thing that you need to know is that if you have had unprotected sex, you need to get emergency contraception right now. The sooner you take it, the more effective it's gonna be, because these pills basically work by stopping ovulation. It stops your ovaries from releasing an egg. No egg, no pregnancy. However, if the egg has already been released, ovulation's begun, and it can't interfere at that point, which, by the way, is why it's not an abortion pill. It's just a very, very last-minute birth control pill. Another question that I get all the time is how likely it is given the person's circumstances. So you probably already know basically how a baby is made. Sperm, egg. But in order for that to happen, the egg has to actually be available and the sperm has to be inside the vagina while the egg is available. That means that none of these things can get you pregnant. Fingering, hand jobs, masturbation, making out, dry humping with clothes on, oral sex, taking a shower or a bath together, touching semen, a partner ejaculating away from your vulva, like your stomach or your back or your hands or the wall, I don't know, don't do that. Also, if you've had your period since then, you are not pregnant. Okay, now here are some things, if you've done them, that will increase your risk. Vaginal sex without a condom. Ejaculating inside the vagina without a condom. Putting the condom on wrong, you know, if it breaks. Sex without birth control. Using birth control wrong. Skipping pills, forgetting to change out your ring in time, things like that. Ejaculating outside the vagina on the vulva, including your butt. Dry humping with clothes off. Genital contact. And having sex while you're ovulating. Remember that ovulation is the 24-hour period where the egg has been released and it can be fertilized. This happens about 2 weeks before your next period and tends to be, you know, around the middle of your cycle. You can kind of guess when you're ovulating by your discharge. There'll be more of it, it'll get more slippery, it'll have an egg whitey consistency. Your body does this to help sperm swim up. So all of these things are definitely increased risk. Let's talk about things that lower the risk. Using a condom and birth control. Using emergency contraception ASAP if there's an accident. If your partner doesn't ejaculate or if your partner pulls out. Also, having sex just before, during, or after your period carries a slightly lower risk of getting pregnant because it's far away from ovulation, usually. Now, if you're having a scare, the first thing people usually think to do is to buy a pregnancy test. And that's a good idea, but you wanna make sure to wait at least a week. When I had that little situation, the first time I had sex, I bought like 3 pregnancy tests and took them the next morning. That's not how that works. If you are pregnant, it takes about a week for the body to start producing HCG, or human chorionic gonadotropin. This is the hormone that pregnancy tests are looking for, and different tests have different sensitivities to it. The most sensitive pregnancy test you can buy right now is First Response, followed by Clear Blue. And then most of the other brands are about the same sensitivity, whether it's, you know, Target's generic brand or the dollar store's generic brand. In general, I think it's a good idea to wait until your period is actually late to take a pregnancy test. And just a word about late periods, even that doesn't necessarily mean that you're pregnant. There are a lot of things that can cause late periods, so
do not panic yet.
For instance, if you're stressed out, say because you had a little sex oopsie, that can delay your period. Yes, pregnancy scares can delay your period, which is just like a cruel trick of nature. In addition to stress, it can be delayed by things like changing your exercise routine, changing your diet, your sleep patterns, new medications you're on, supplements, things like that. So bear that in mind. So that's the basics on the body stuff, but obviously, there's a lot more to a pregnancy scare that's happening up here. You might be having worried thoughts about your future, just sort of running over worst case scenarios in your head. You might be feeling some guilt and shame about the accident or just about having sex to begin with. If you're beating yourself up, please remember that everyone makes mistakes. This kind of stuff does happen. We want to try to avoid it, but it will happen sometimes. So what matters now is what you do next. Get your emergency contraception and get on birth control. Protect yourself so that this doesn't happen again. If you can't do that, condoms are a great alternative. But no matter what happens, whatever the case may be, you have options. It's not going to be the end of the world. It is going to be okay. I promise. And for some people, this anxiety about getting pregnant is a very regular thing in their life. I've noticed that this experience is more common amongst those who maybe grew up in really conservative households, have a lot of sexual shame and guilt to begin with. And I think that our culture handles this topic very poorly as well. I mean, think about what the message is out there about young people particularly who accidentally get pregnant. This is the worst thing that can happen to you. It'll ruin your life. You're a horrible failure of a person. You're slutty, you're trashy, you have no self-respect, all of these super loaded judgments. And teen moms in particular are really, subjected to this very heavy stigma in our society. Kind of strange, because it takes 2 people to get pregnant. There's also a really strange attitude out there that accidentally becoming pregnant is this sort of punishment that you deserve for having sex. I mean, how dare you enjoy this totally normal and pleasurable thing that almost every human being does? Here, be cursed with the human life. Okay, I'll stop being a weirdo. I mean, just think about that. Obviously, we're all responsible for our actions. We're responsible for our mistakes. But this idea that young women being sexual, having a sex drive, having pleasures and desires of her own, being this horrible thing that you should be punished for. Very problematic. Sorry, I'm gonna stop saying that word because it's so cringe to me. My point is this: if you are practicing safer sex and being responsible and still having a tremendous fear that is impeding on your relationship or your sex life, I think that's worth unpacking. Really reflect on where that fear is coming from and how you can address it so that you can enjoy yourself. Yes, all sex comes with some risk. That is a reality. So we do the best we can to reduce those risks as much as possible. Enjoy your body, enjoy your sexuality. We all deserve that. Okay, my babes, that's the rundown. But if you have any questions, you can always shoot me an email to clarify. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time. Mwah.